welcome back to another episode of LR Talks. My name is Jade, and of course, I'll be your host on the show today. If you're joining us for the first time, if you're watching us for the first time, this is about where I say welcome to LR Talks. It's about to be your favorite podcast. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this fun ride with me. Today on the table, we have a very sensitive topic. A topic I believe has been swept under the carpet for a very long time. A topic that many people do not talk about. And this topic is nothing but African men and vulnerability. With me in the studio today is someone who will be taking us through a conversation. I believe that he is very fit to take us through this conversation, and I am sure that you're going to gain a lot from it. Right about now, I'd like him to introduce himself to us. Good day, sir.
Good day.
Yes, sir. I'd like you to introduce yourself to us.
My name is Sobowale. I am the director of the Peak Business Enterprise. I'm a life coach, which I've been doing for the past 14 years. Let me say this because it will be valid for our discussion. I'm the last boy in my family. So
Great.
even though I'm a leader in my field, so I think those two will best explain African men and vulnerability that we have on the desk.
Thank you very much, sir. You've heard him say a lot. You've heard him say who he is, and you're sure to learn a lot from today's episode. So back to the topic of vulnerability. It's quite unfortunate that our society has wrongly defined vulnerability, especially for the male gender. The right definition of vulnerability has actually helped many females scale through a lot of things that they might have gone through in the past. But for males, it is not that way because a lot of expectation is put on males. And that is where I'd like us to start this conversation from. The cultural expectations on the male child, the things that are expected of the male child. A lot of pressure, I believe, is put on the male gender. And I want to believe that you have a lot of experience. As you have told us earlier, you are the last boy in your family. And I want to assume that there's a lot that you have to say about the cultural expectations on the male gender, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jade, for this very sensitive topic, like you said earlier. The cultural expectations on the male gender, especially in Africa, is not something we need to, dive too deep to discover. It's everywhere. The everyday okorine that we say in Yoruba, okorine, we don't want to see a male cry. It's a sign of weakness. We want to see a male. I would have loved to push a question to you, but people of my own age, my generation, hardly do we find our parents hug us. I don't think we grew up having that mindset of we are in need of a hug. We are in need of a hope. Failure is not a thing that is permitted in the culture, especially for a male. Okay, for example, now let's take for example that we have two graduates, a male and a female. Let's say two of them are in a relationship. Okay, and the female got a job, the male got a job,
Yes.
and they want to get married. They graduated at the same time. The female wants to rent an apartment, okay? Because they are in a relationship, she will be expecting, culture will expect that the male should be the one that will take the apartment and pay for it, all right? Whereas they are earning the same, they graduated the same. What I'm trying to say, I'm not, of course, supporting the fact that a male should not provide for his family.
Yeah.
But then we are seeing it as a norm, all right, where there is pressure on the man to be the one to do. Now, it is not wrong in its right senses. But then, if peradventure, now that is where we are going to, if peradventure the male cannot provide, as the female also could not provide for our own rent, if peradventure the female will not be given a stick, the female will not be beaten, and that is where I'm going to. It is not about they being able to provide, but peradventure the female cannot provide. They will say, Oko enko.
Yeah.
You get the point? But if the male cannot provide, where is the provision for failure? Where is the provision for failure at that time where hope can still bring about more in the future to come, and these things, these burdens, it has drawn a line where it's a do or die thing. Is either you get it or you get out.
Mm.
And if you, of course, if you check the suicidal rates, that is, that it's based on statistics from WHO far back in 2022, now August, we have the male gender, 12,600 of every 100,000 male commit suicide, compared to 5,900 of every 1,000 females committing suicide.
Double.
It is, the gap is too much. So the cultural expectation, the norm that we say about, we don't need to define it as culture, but once we accept it as a norm, it's already a culture. So I just had to, give the explanation where the female can fail, and we understand our failure or cover up our failure. There is little or no room for the male.
So there's a need to strike the balance between, okay, creating males that are actually strong, as in making males that are actually strong, and making sure that we give room for them to actually fail, get up, fall, get up, and all of that. This is a very important topic. And like I said earlier, it's very sensitive and you would definitely learn a lot. So back to what you said on the suicidal rates and all of that. I'd like us to talk about the impact of this on the male gender's mental health. It's from statistics that you said, I think in the world now, about 720,000 people die from suicide every year, according to the World Health Organization. And I think that there's a cause for alarm, because yes, this is not a huge number in the real sense of it, but it is a number that can be brought down to the barest minimum. Sure. And so I just want to talk about the mental effect, the effect that it has on the male mental health in particular, because for the females, like you said, there is hope for them. They are allowed to fall and rise. In fact, they are allowed to be comfortable in the falling state. Yeah. But for the males, they are not. And I want to believe that this has a whole lot to do with the mental health of the male gender. And because I know that you have a wealth of experience, I'd like you to just share a little bit with us on that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. There is there's an idiom that we generally say, a problem that is shared is half solved. All right. Now, it is easier for the female folks to seek for help from outside. And it is welcomed, it is understood. You hear something like, at least Kolosha Shehu. And you hear people say, so that the person will not look outside. So it makes it easier. Even the female folks can lay claim on that, like, rather than for me going outside, or rather, but then for the man, where will he go to? So like you said earlier, which is very valid, we also need to consider that this is not an everyday thing. All right. For example, from the statistics that you brought up, 720,000 people in the whole world dying through suicide. That out of over 8 billion, that's small, but then it is still a high figure. 720,000 people in the whole world dying in a year. That's still something to pay attention to. And a number of this is coming, a larger percentage of it is from the male compared to the female. So if we bring it down to Africa, we can still, I'm hoping that this message will reach out to a whole number of people where we will know how to correct some of these things, because the effect on someone bottling up his own problems, it's a whole lot on the mental health. It causes stress. You are alone. It keeps you from sleeping. You cannot discuss it with someone in a way that you will be helped. There's a difference between gisting and having a purposeful discussion with a person, because in Africa we don't really give too much room for therapy.
Yes.
All right. We seldomly find effective mentorship in various fields, because of our African culture. We suspect ourselves a lot. We are scared of being vulnerable, because a mentor has to be vulnerable with his mentee for the mentee to learn. So
Yes.
we are careful of not releasing too much.
Too much
So we
information.
only see the success stories of people out there, and then we don't get to know how they fell and rose back again. Those stories also help, which is what we find in mentorship relationship. We hardly find that, in the African setting. So it keeps the upcoming male, it keeps the upcoming male in that space of, is either I do it or die trying. And you will realize that the rate of drug addiction, the rate of cyber crime, the rate of it has been alarming, which is what leads them to, even those who have not died, come and check the prison yard. We have more males than female. All right, even those who have not died, they have tried to use various means when they are supposed to really. So the impact of these, let me call it the decadence, the impact of this inadequacy is a whole lot. If we are, in short, there is a project that I'm running presently. It's called Stream, Survive, Thrive, Multiply. All right. I came up with this in business because I've been running business for quite a while, and I had a little bit of a dig in business at some point where I lost a whole lot, and the thoughts came into my heart. The pressure was so much from the bank, from here, from there, and just like we were raised, I couldn't call my own family. I couldn't really call them. I had to look for a way to get it done, look for a way, and it was too much on me. Eventually, I was able to overcome it. Thanks to my family also coming into the picture. But then I learned something. And I now ask myself, how many people would have committed suicide with these problems on ground? And that was why I started that. The project is a flow of hope, survive, thrive, and multiply. We started that, passing on education, a mentorship relationship between us and young entrepreneurs coming up, just to give them the needed knowledge to be able to survive in this business thing. Because a number of people just set out to do things to make it, but then they don't have enough to scale through. So that also in reducing the curve of suicide rates amongst entrepreneurs. That also is part of the things that we are doing now, because we know that the impact of this inability to see someone who can show you how, give you hope in what you need to do that you are struggling with, can cause a whole lot. It can lead to stress, mental breakdown, and eventually some people commit suicide because of it. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot.
Okay, so sometimes I feel like for the male gender, even when they have people that they can talk to, sometimes they have, should I put it as trust issues now? Because it feels too good to be true that someone understands the way they feel, someone cares about the way they feel. Why? Because of the stereotype, how they have been raised. Like you said, you were not growing up, it was not a norm for your parent to hug you and all of that. And I can only imagine what it would feel like if at that point in time, probably your dad just walked up to you randomly and gave you a hug. It would definitely not exactly sit well, because you would wonder what exactly is going on. So I want us to shed more light on that aspect, because I feel like the male gender also needs to learn to accept help. If the society eventually knows that therapy is good, mentorship is a beautiful thing, the male gender in question, because we're focusing on the male gender now, need to be, acceptant of these things. They need to accept this help when it comes. So I want us to shed more light on that, so we don't just, talk about the fact that it's an external issue when it could also be from the person in question.
Okay, thank you for this light. I mentioned something earlier while I was talking. I said that we must be careful in, while you are trying to seek for help, be careful in just approaching it casually, what you need importantly. What you need that is important to you shouldn't be a gist. All right? I can gist about a thing, and the person that is talking is not prepared to answer me. So it only gives me from whatever is at the surface. which might not create hope. So I believe that from not only having the true feeling now, I believe some of the people that are also some of the this male that we are talking about, that we have issues with being deliberate with seeking solution to what we really need. So most times we wish for the solutions, we don't look for the solutions. So, for example, let's say somebody took a loan in the bank, and then he mentions it to his friend, my loan. That is just you having a gist.
Okay.
You get the point?
Yes.
So it is different from, so I want to come and see you. And then it's a deliberate discussion. So instead of, we will not only pick and say maybe they have trust issues. How did they approach the problem? That's one of the things that I've discovered also, because I've found people who have tried to see me because, like I said earlier, I'm a life coach. And I think I've been doing that for 14 years, which means I've seen different people, different cases, and I see how some people even come, they lie. They come for counseling and they are lying about themselves. They're not ready. And then when they are talking about their stories, it does not tally. Let me make a joke. Just like one of these comedians said that his mom is late, and they said, where did he get that his mom died in childbirth? And they said, wow, you are so good with this thing. How did you get it? He said it was his mom that taught him. He said, so how come? I'm just trying to make a joke now. Yeah. So sometimes their stories don't tally, and you don't even know where to counsel from. So eventually, they seem to be someone who is not yet ready. They want to only open the part where they did well, but they say it didn't work. And whereas there are parts where they didn't do well, I have issues with postponing. I procrastinate a lot. I've discovered that about myself. You leave that part out, but you are mentioning the parts where I just want to pay this loan that I collected. Now, the loan collection is not the issue. You cannot pay back a loan because you are lazy to get up. So what you might be needing from that mentor might not be money to pay back the loan. It might be a correction, an habitual error that you have that must be addressed. So sometimes I believe trust issues from that person to the other person might not really be it. I think the real matter is the seriousness from the person who is actually talking to the person who you need counsel from, you need solution from. So first, know that it is not a gist. So don't go there with the wish thing. You are deliberate about what you came for. All right. Then secondly, be truthful. When you are opening up yourself, be truthful. That is what we call vulnerability, actually. Yeah. It makes you rely on somebody else. Like, I can't do it on my own. I need this person. Some of the issues that I've counseled, I've realized that some of them were just burdened when they were too young. They have put responsibilities on some men while they are still young. I was talking to some of them, some young folks, I think about 3 of them, and I told them, I said, when you are saving and you still have the consciousness that money you are saving is yours to spend, there will be an equal problem that needs that money. Don't be emotional. To cut long story short, they became emotional and I hands off because there is no how I can help. Shortly after that time, I saw one of them. He was in need of TIFE, transportation, and he couldn't talk to me. You don't eat your seed out of emotions. Now, that is a discipline the person should have. So the problem is not the issue that is on ground. What you have is a seed. Once you spend it, there is no yield coming from anywhere anymore. So if you love your people, you will sow that seed and spend that seed for them. But it seems to look like, now imagine that kind of counsel. It's not something that somebody is going to get randomly. So it's not about you releasing yourself to the person you're talking to and you not being sure of what you're going to get. That is one part. There's another part where we ourselves don't open up ourselves as it should be. to the person that, and after you are now counseled, you still go back to what you know you should do, you will still get the same results. So it still boils down back to the place where our culture hardly gives space for therapy, for mentorship. It still goes back to that point. So I feel that when you release yourself, and as a man, you talk about your problems and you release yourself to someone, it is you resting on that person. At that point, drop your ego. It is you resting. For example, when I said I was going to, there were some people that I had to excuse me, that I had to discuss with. Oh, sir, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm going through. In fact, one of the people that I went to, I've been informing that person over time, but it has been a gist. Now, those are the things that I learned from. The same person was the person I went back to. This time around with the deliberate request. And then I got the solution. I was gisting with that person. This is what I'm going through. God will see us through. God will see us through, because I did not have a request. So, but eventually, when I thought about it, let me be deliberate about this. So it was not a discussion of a gist. It was now a request, a deliberate request from that person. Another thing that I also want to point out, from the place of building stronger relationships with the people that we open ourselves up to, aside from we being true, that one is very valid. We should also check the capacity of the person that we are about to open ourselves up to. Don't be blinded by your circumstance and just get it from anywhere. It might get you anywhere. And you know, anywhere is defined. If you do anything or approach any solution anyhow, it can get you anywhere.
Yeah.
You understand? So sometimes it takes away our reasoning because of the problem we are in. We just want to get out of it. So we don't care how it's being done. There was a time when I think I was talking to someone about an amount of capital to run a business, just for us to discuss about it. And then he mentioned a few things. He said, Tayo, I think there was a time when I was looking for a very big amount of money, and I went to someone. The person said, this money you are looking for exists somewhere.
Yes.
It is available also for you to get, but can you pay the price? The money is there. Can you pay the price? So we need to know who we talk to. Take time. Don't just blindly go into it. Please. Take time to know who you are talking to. It will help you to be true to a true person. At least do your own due diligence. It can now become anything eventually, but at least you have done, rather than just go casually, one, as a gist, or blindly as someone who is careless. Those two might not get you the result you need. And like it said in the Bible, there's a woman with the issue of blood that when she said she has suffered a whole lot from different physicians,
Yeah.
which means at that point she just wanted the solution. So she was desperate for a solution. All right. So until she took her time, take note, when she was to get a miracle, she took her time to say in her heart, if I can do this will happen. So she had to come to a place of calculation. So if I can do this, and then she paid the price, and then she got what she needed. So I feel that's going to help anybody who is going through anything, any male that is going through anything at the moment, and you are thinking, drop your ego. Don't just gist with friends that cannot help you. Don't just talk to people that will just pity you, and that's all. Move towards the place where the solution is.
Yes.
And be vulnerable enough to let them know. Don't try to maintain ego while you are in need of help. We have a number of young folks that are students. You don't know the course. Don't be too big to ask someone who's going to teach you. Then you are looking, I think it's, for me, before we can bond, we must be the same element. So drop whatever does not make you bond with the person that's going to help you. That's what I can just say about that.
So dropping your ego to actually find a solution to the problem you have at hand. This has been an insightful session so far. The popular Ivy Quake said something in a piece that she released on the 13th of May, earlier this year. She said the boy child is asked to be a man when he has not finished learning how to be a boy. And following that, I'd like us to discuss the solution to this problem. We have dwelt on the problem. We have talked about the fact that, we've even started talking about the solutions, being intentional and knowing the people you'd, talk to. But I want us to expatiate more on the point of the solution, finding a solution to this issue. The fact that, the society needs to step up. I think we need to start from the society, because it starts from the people around the male gender. The pressure from, I think recently, just last week, a medical student committed suicide. And when it was going to be talked about, what people said was it was school pressure. And somewhere deep within me, I don't want to believe it was just school pressure that would make a medical student commit suicide when he was about to start writing his second professional exam. He has written the first one, he has scaled through. I want to believe that there was pressure from outside, pressure from home, pressure from friends, pressure from different places. And all of these people, all of this structure is what makes up the society. So how the society can step up such that these things, the suicide rates would reduce. Men know, oh, I can talk to this person and find a solution to my problem and all of that. How can the society step up? That is where I'd like us to start discussing the solutions.
Okay. Now, if you still pick society, if you pick culture, it will still bring you down to family. Because, of course, the family is the smallest unit in a society that forms a culture. So let's come to the family. We mentioned some things earlier. Like you said, in our discussion, there have been scattered solutions that have been mentioned here and there. So we can just put them together now to form something we can now address directly. We mentioned something earlier when you were introducing. You said vulnerability, all right, have been wrongly defined for the male gender, whereby what he is to do, being vulnerable, is called weakness. It's not man enough. Whereas it is something that has been, permitted for the woman. So the male gender are permitted to, are not permitted to show weakness in some things, in the sense of being vulnerable, but the female gender are permitted to do the same. I gave an example when I started also. I spoke about, two graduates, male and female. If the female graduate does not make it as much as or as the same level as the male gender will have issue, will be called a failure. And the female gender will say, go to your husband's house, at least old law school. So the male gender must pass. The female gender might pass. That's two different things. Because if they marry each other, that's why you will hardly find people of age, same age, getting married. They are expecting that the man should have gone through life, you get, to cover the failures of the female. So it's difficult to have the same. So that means the man must have gone ahead before so nobody is taking away the place where the male must be raised to take responsibilities. No. There must be discipline. There must be diligence. You must be dogged. You cannot be in Africa and be, soft. You can't. You can't. You must know what you're going for, and you must go for it. Do your due diligence. Don't be lazy. You can't afford to be lazy. So we are not saying these things to back up the lazy ones. No. So like I said, it still boils down back to what? To family. The immediate environment of the child. there is an expected mentorship, not just parenting, but mentorship in parenting. You understand that? Now, there's a difference between being a parent and providing for your children, ensuring they go to school, all those basics, giving them clothes to wear, ensuring they look good in the society. Those ones, parenting. But there must be a deliberate mentorship. Now, most times I've discovered that some of our parents, I've met some people whose parents and does not fully understand even their own word. So we, as some a life coach, we have to help the child discover who he is. It shouldn't be done at the teenage age. We are already building a faulty foundation. So parents from the home first must discover the kind of child they have. Discovery is not something that is too big. You don't need to be educated to discover. Because this is a child that lives in your presence every day.
Yeah.
So you see his daily decisions when he is even innocently not influenced by anybody from the outside. You see what he's interested in. You notice this, you notice that, and then pick it up from there and mentor him in that field. That's why there's a saying, train up a child, not an adult. It can only be trained up as a child, not in the way you want him to go, in the way he should go. So some of our parents also, they mentor their words, their children in their own space. They force that child into their knowledge space. I want him to be an engineer because I was an engineer. And then you took him to the first engineer, second engineer, third engineer, and then he keeps dropping out. And then he gets a label, drop out. Whenever you want to talk to him, you remind him of how he has failed in those things. And then even the things that he is strong to do, he can't pick up to do because he is already weak. So I will still draw this back to the family. If a person is strong in his home, it is difficult for that person to be down-reaching outside. So go and check people that have inferiority complex. Check their homes. Check their homes. I think I saw there was a day I heard of a story that of someone who when she was in primary school or so, they went for, I think, end of the year party. Yes. End of the year party, and when the mother was there, I think the guardian was there. I don't know whether it's the mother or the likes. The guardian was there, and they were collecting the report cards. So they gave award to the first, to the second, to the third, and then the child brought a report card, ran to the mother to hug, like it's a festive and celebratory environment, and the mother pushed that away and said, "Is it not your mates that is coming first, second, and third? So what is this?" So you can imagine the kind of a stressful environment the child needs to grow. Okay. We find parents who wants to force their children to become doctors, force their children to become, just be all of us in our generation, and we are all, you have not sat down to first discover. So I see some of these things from home, from these problems from home. So if we can do those things from home, first, we will have a better production of men. There's reproduction. Yes. You can reproduce by giving birth, but by production, there must be a process. So we can produce real men. I mean, real men. Some of them it's just for you to discover that this person is not this kind of person. So when you now know what they lack, that they need for where they are going to, then you know what to train them on. But sometimes you want to train them on everything, and it makes them jack of all trades. So they don't and some of our parents are not also informed, which is So most times in Africa, the children are the ones that grow up to discover themselves. And what our parents want is just bring back something home. So whatever is making money, you see somebody who's doing cybercrime, building house for the parents, and they're not asking Ibolochiro.
Yeah.
And yet they are seeing someone who's writing the exam and failing, and you call him a failure. So you see that what we define as success, and the person also sees that, oh, look at the person that they are hailing. Look at me that they are taking. So why do I need to go through all this stress? Let me just get them what they want. And then they say that will be he's taking care of his parents. So I think it first starts from the home. Let us discover our the way our lad, our word, our children should go, what they are meant to do by interest. That's why when you get to GHS3, they will tell you to choose area of discipline. Arts, commerce, science. Notice that science class is always filled up.
Yes.
Science class looks like they are more knowledgeable. The people that know book are to be in science. That's the information our parents have. Average students are in commercial. Dull ones are in arts. True of us.
Very true.
So once your child know book, you are sending him to medicine. Only she. Whereas the book the young man knows is mathematics and calculation. He's supposed to be an engineer. Some of them are supposed to be farmers. Their hands are blessed to plant and harvest. But you are sending those hands to go and do engineering, computer engineering, because what? Tech is what is ruling. Whereas the young man is supposed to be farming. So if we fail in these places, they will struggle all through life. So you see people that are not doing what they enjoy, so they are in the labor market to survive. It starts from the home. I'm not going to take the dig on parents alone, but I think when it comes to this societal breakdown of anything, go back to the family. There's a difference between having one child that is wayward, that happens, based on peer pressure, all those things that happens.
Yes.
Those ones are there, But then when you're talking about something that has become a norm, generally accepted. Now, wayward children is not something generally accepted. That's why we have the law enforcement agents that are still arresting here, arresting there. Yeah. But when we talk about a cultural decadence, then check the family. We have accepted something. And sometimes when we talk about our children, where is your child now? He's studying pharmacy. There's this prestige that comes. What about you? He's in the school of agriculture. And they're like, which school is that? And like, I'm in this place. And you feel ashamed of the purpose of your child. Why? It's tiring, because I've had to deal with this over and over again. I've cried over this matter. It's a burden in my heart. I do tell some of the people I counsel, if some of these places, some of them are pushing you guys to, if it is not a calling, you will struggle.
Yes.
Like this person you're talking about, this medical student. Imagine the medical student that does not like seeing blood. He does not like seeing blood. He fidgets on that, and you send him to go and do nothing. Where he's going to dress wounds that is bringing out maggots. How is he going to cope? If he's doing it, you have just sent him to a sorrowful life where he's making money out of sorrow. Yeah. Yes, he's going to take care of you. You don't care anymore. But then, how is he now going to train his own children? So this thing is just going down. So I take it back to the home. I take it back to the home. Generally, I will also say that everybody should have what we call acts of hope. Every individual. Some people are just so unfortunate that the last person they spoke to was what fostered their suicide. Some people don't just have any. It's and you see these people behind the steering, behind the wheels, on bikes, on the road, that when you make a mistake, there is a way. Okay, I've been in this sports angle for a while. I'm a director of a football academy, and sometimes we go for matches. My players make mistake. and you hear the fans cursing them. We do it when we watch Arsenal, when we watch Chelsea, when we watch Barcelona. We call them names from where we are seated. Thank God that those ones are even hailing millions. And we that went to pay TV center, that we're not even watching this in our comfort of our homes, are taking a dig at those who are watching. So it tells you that the environment, the community is hostile to errors.
I think I was talking to a few friends, and one of them had mentioned that every person that commits suicide is a conversation away from committing it.
So they are hostile. At some point, we have to employ a psychologist in the team. Because, especially for goalkeepers, they suffer a lot. When strikers, those are people that are playing forward, when strikers lose goals, it's not too much. But when goalkeepers make mistake, it causes goals against them. So their own errors are more seen. So goalkeepers are more like the male gender. Strikers are more like the female gender. They are permitted to lose goals. And maybe out of 10 shots, they score 1. They celebrate that scoring. But a defender or a goalkeeper must not make 1 mistake. Once he makes 1, he causes goals, and the rain causes on that person. So we have to employ a psychologist for our goalkeeper and for other players that needs it, so that he can keep his head high despite all he was hearing from people. We are prone to make mistakes. I went to one of my players, I said, he was committing a lot of errors. I said, make all the mistakes you can make in this match. Just ensure you don't stop fighting. You will get there one day. The guy looked at my face, and I saw the resilience, that the hope, that hearing that from his manager. I saw that confidence swell back. He was ready to bash anybody. So make all the mistakes you want to make, but don't stop fighting. Don't give up on anything. So I think if we can have everybody, or maybe later percentage of people, as hope carriers, with the acts of hope, you can still make it. One hug here, one hug there. Like we used to sing this song, yes, my shoulder, you can lean on me. Yeah. We need each other. Just help that person. Some people are comfortable when you fail a course, and you're not the only one that failed the course. Maybe a lot of you failed that course, and then you're like, we all failed in the department. You are more okay. You're comfortable. But if you are the only one that failed, it becomes why me? It becomes a matter. So how do you counsel people that failed? Awaiting results is not, I've never had. And it's the way some of people that have also made it share their testimonies. That's why I think I've heard AJS preach a message. I've heard one of his snippets. He said that if you have not failed, you have no right to talk to me. He said because your so-called all success stories have not given you enough to release enough for the ones who need enough. So we must create space for failure. I'm already talking about the ways out. Yes. Create space for failure. That is all of us. Create space for failure. When you fail, you have not failed until you stop trying. All right. Acknowledge when you are getting lower than what you are. We over time overlook this part of us. Normally, you don't sleep to this extent before. Now you realize that you're sleeping to that extent. Even though, so it will help you know when you need help.
Yes.
So take note of that. I've mentioned that family. In the family, there must be, especially from the parents, from those who stand as mentor, 2 things. There must be 1, discovery of who the child is, where he's supposed to go. Number 2, there must be deliberate mentorship aside parenting. I think my mom is the person that did that for myself and some of my siblings. She has 1 day in a week that'll be focused on 1 child.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
My own day was Thursday. So every Thursday is a day where you sit down with her and you have it. So it's not a random thing. She's the one I'm seeing. You're forgetting that person you are seeing every day, those who are not with you are the ones that will come back and say, this guy is now a big girl. He's growing right under your nose. Is becoming what you are wishing. So it is still part of your duty to ensure that you pass on what you want to see. But I've realized this over time, even from this football thing, that you see coaches expecting their players to do what they have not rehearsed in training. And then you are hungry. You didn't do this thing in training. You are expecting the player to know what you're supposed to do. You have not done your own work. And I see that in parents also. You are not involved in but he has made it. You now want to claim I'm the parent. No, that's just what we want. We just want him to make it. As far as I'm providing for him, I've sent him to school, into the hands of a teacher who you didn't verify whether you only trusted the school to employ a teacher. You didn't verify whether he has what it takes to train your child. So the work starts from you. You know, this is an emotional thing for me, because I've seen lads, youth, young folks without hope. And when I traced it, some of them is just from home. It's just from home. You know, it's just from home. Forcing them to do what they are not supposed to do.
I think stories of forcing children is a lot. I've heard life stories of, parents forcing their children to study a particular course in school. Only a few people are lucky enough to know, okay, this is not my path. And probably after they are done, that's after wasting, I would call it wasting so many years doing what their parents have forced them to do, they have to go back and start from scratch. Exactly. And that's like only a few.
I think I have a story in that regard. My elder brother studied computer engineering when he was in school. He did computer engineering. He went for his master's. He did his PhD, and then when he finished, he went to give the certificate to our parents, and then he now went to study law.
Wow.
He said that is what he wants to do. But for you to study law, you must be in art class.
Yes.
But if you know book, you must be in science class. So the misinformation from our parents, also in their defense, some of them are not doing it out of wickedness. That is how best they know. But we are now trying to beg our parents, please get enough information so that you can mentor these people, these young ones coming up, not in the way you want them to go, but in the way they should go. It is, we cannot be loud enough. In fact, we are talking about the society. The other people making up those peer pressure also came from a family.
Yes.
The people that you say are causing peer pressure also came from a family. And we must also, the place where there must be hope for any child is his home. That's the first place. A child will, if he has failed, he should be able to go home first. So our parents should create space for them to fail. That's one thing I will always, celebrate my mom for. I failed. I failed. They know I'm this brilliant boy, but there is just a lifestyle I was living then that was causing me to fail constantly. For about 8 years, let me just put it like that. 8 years, I was trying to get admission. You can imagine how long that is. Lot. 8 good years. And someone did not expect anything from me anymore. In fact, sometimes when he sees me, he says, look at your life.
I think individuals actually need, even if it's just one person, that actually believes that something good can still come out of this.
Imagine that one person is now from your home. If everybody in the world, now you talked about suspecting people, if they are true or not, for you to open up to them. How will you open up? How easy do you think it will be to open up to where you were naked? It is in your home you are naked. Nakedness, it's a sign of vulnerability. Yes. That's why you see husband and wife are not ashamed being together. Yeah. So the place where you can remove your clothes should be a place where you can unveil your heart. But if you are keeping your heart from where you remove your clothes, you have a problem. If I'm going to go to a therapist now, I will dress up. I will wear perfume. I will look good. to go to a therapist. So my story is only going to listen to what I tell him. But I don't need to tell stories to my people at home because they are in the story. They know the story. So they can understand me better. So imagine if my pressure is coming from the home. It's a whole lot. Just like you said about this person that comparing children and the like, this one have made it, look at your life. Can't you also you understand the point? So there are a whole lot that I think we might not be able to cover even in these. But I'm just sending these words down to our parents and to we also that are becoming parents. Let's be deliberate in raising our male children. You know, whether we like it or not, there is a focus on the male child.
Yes, sir.
That's the reason why when you get married now, you will change your surname if you wish to, if he agrees, to his own. That alone is a responsibility. I wouldn't want us to play that down with this vulnerability thing. What we are only saying is that we give them a breathing space to also fail. And we give them hope even in their failure. Don't put a burden on a milky leg. A baby should not stand until he's ready to stand, or else he will have bow legs. Yeah. When it is now time for him to run, he will not be able to run at. So let us also pay attention to these things. Then I believe that there's going to be a good turnaround and a reduced rate of suicide or mental illness from stress come from the male figure. Thank you very much.
Now, this has been a very, very, very insightful session, and I am sure you enjoyed it. But quite unfortunately, I would have to call it a wrap here. If you're not going to take anything home, you're going to be a parent one day, or you are a parent watching this. And I think this is a call to intentionality in raising your male kids, because it's going to tell a lot on them and on the society at large, because everyone comes from a home. Thank you very much for being on this show with us, sir. Thank you for all the insights. We really do appreciate your presence here. Okay, so if you have stories, survival stories to share in the comment section, things you might be going through yourself that you need us to, address together, we would not mind your entries. Please do well to drop a comment. And if you've not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and I'll see you on the next episode of LR Talks. I remain your host, Jade. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.